Today I'm going to talk about the flu epidemic of 1918, also known as the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu had approximately 3 waves. Some will say 4, but we're going to say 3. The first wave killed between 2 and 3 million people. The second wave killed between 20 and 30 million people. And you'll hear conflicting views on the numbers. The records weren't that good. So the first instances of the flu were from soldiers from World War One, and the flu epidemic of 1918 had different characteristics than our pandemic that's going on right now in 2020. Actually, healthy people were more at risk during the flu of 1918, and they had a bigger death rate. Today it seems to be the opposite. If you have a compromised immune system, you're older, then you have a much greater chance of dying of this epidemic or pandemic. So anyway, let's talk about how the Spanish flu of 1918 impacted us today. And it does, whether you realize it or not. So I'm going to talk about 2 different instances. One is with my grandmother. My grandmother passed away years ago at the age of 94, but it did impact her life. When she was born in 1916, and so when the Spanish flu was going through the mountains, and through the Blue Ridge Mountains where she lived, she would have been 2. And so she had an older brother who was, at the time, he was 4, and his name was Elmer. And Elmer was just a little bitty fella, of course, 4 years old, and somehow the Spanish flu had made it up into the mountains. And so there were a bunch of them that were sick with the flu. And so Elmer was walking around helping the people that he could, because Elmer had not caught the flu. And he was taking them water and doing what little a 4-year-old could do to help some of the other people that were sick. Well, Elmer ended up getting the flu, and Elmer died at the age of 4. And so, of course, Elmer never got married, never had kids, never had grandkids, and so his family tree died right there. My grandmother, who was 2 years younger, then she got married at a very young age, had kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, lived to be 94, has an entire family line that exists today, me being one of those. So the people that died in the pandemic of 1918, of course, their family trees die along with them. Also, another instance from the pandemic of 1918, one of my favorite uncles, he passed away years ago, but his name was James. We called him Hoot, and I dearly loved him. But he was here because of the flu of 1918. So this is the story. His mother had been married, and so her husband got the flu in 1918, and he died. So she remarried, and when she remarried my Uncle Hoot's dad. And so then they had children, one of them being Hoot, or James. And so James existed because the flu of 1918 killed his mother's first husband. If not, he would have never existed, which means then his children wouldn't have existed. He had 2 daughters, which are still alive today. Both of them live out in Texas. and he had one grandkid, and he lives in Texas also. So all of those people, of course, then they all married, and so you're continuing a line that would have never existed if it hadn't have been for the flu of 1918. So this pandemic, whether we realize it or not today, because of the lives it takes, will impact future generations in untold ways. So I just wanted to put some things in perspective and give you something to think about. I hope y'all have a great day. Have a wonderful day, and I will send one more video and to let you know a few things before we leave. Have a good evening. Bye bye.